It was a remarkable exchange between Muhammed Hijab and Piers Morgan last night. Initially, one might have assumed that the discussion would be a journalistic exercise where the host's opinion wouldn't come into play. However, what we witnessed with Piers Morgan and his featured attempt to defend Israel was quite embarrassing.
Well, Muhammed Hijab joins me now. Muhammed, thank you very much for coming in. I hadn't actually watched your videos. I have now. I've watched a few of them. I'm aware you've got a massive following. You've got nearly 1 million YouTube subscribers. You're an influential person, and you have a lot to say about this issue, obviously. So I thank you for coming in, but I'm not too cowardly to talk to you. I don't have a horse in this race. I think I've tried to straddle a divide of being fair-minded with all sides. I've had all voices on the show.
I commend you for that, actually, to be honest, for bringing me on. But do realise I did caveat that with on fair ground. So let's hope that this interview is conducted.
I intend to be completely fair.
Yeah, sure.
I promise you, because all I want to get to here is a real sense of what is going to happen. We can all look back at. We can all look back. Let me just. We can all look back.
Before that, Piers. Yeah. Sorry, if you want to say fair grounds, you introduced me as a Palestinian controversial.
I actually corrected myself.
Right, so
I said pro-Palestinian. I meant to say pro-Palestinian.
So why did the word controversial come into play?
Of course, you are trying to appear impartial, but the interview with a pro-Palestinian campaigner and scholar seemed rather contrived. In sessions with anti-Palestine figures like Ben Shapiro, Mr. Morgan, you made us believe you were neutral. However, last night, the facade fell away and your true stance was revealed by the incisive intellectual arguments put forth by Muhammed Hijab. You started on the wrong foot. Why introduce Hijab as a controversial YouTuber? I mean, YouTuber?
If you want to say fair grounds, you introduced me as a Palestinian controversial.
I actually corrected myself.
Right, so
I said pro-Palestinian. I meant to say pro-Palestinian.
So why did the word controversial come into play?
I think you're controversial.
So are you.
Yeah, I wouldn't deny
So is the
that.
ambassador. Why didn't you introduce her in that manner?
Mr. Morgan, it was quite evident that you hadn't done your homework on Muhammed Hijab. You seemed to think he was just some random individual making videos in defense of Islam. He is not. Allow me to assist you, sir. Muhammed Hijab is an author, comparative religionist, and philosopher of scripture. He is a co-founder of the Sapiens Institute and serves as a researcher and instructor for the organization. He holds a BA in politics and master's degree in history. He has numerous books and publications to his credit. He is very far from being controversial.
Let me ask you this. Where were you when you heard about what happened on October the 7th?
I was at home.
What was your reaction when you heard?
I was actually very sickened by it. And this is something I do want to put on the table because I think it's fair for people to know this. In our religion, we do not believe, okay, as a Muslim, I am a Muslim, and I do not believe in the killing of any man, woman, or children. Non-combatants. That is not despite the religious teachings. That is because of the religious teachings. So in terms of condemning Hamas and just jumping straight into it, I condemn not only Hamas but any other entity, okay, wherein it's proven that this has been done, that the killing of combatants has been done. Therein, I condemn any party that does it. Any party that kills people or strikes at people where it's more probable than not that it will hit a civilian target, I condemn them, and that's why I condemn the IDF. Because when they strike, they know that it's more probably than not going to hit civilian targets. They know that the majority of civilians, or the majority of people that are going to be affected are civilians. We know that from the various operations that have been conducted. We know that because now in Gaza you find that there is a blockade, as you know, for 17 years, but also they're stopping them from electricity, water, which is a war crime under Geneva 4 of the Geneva Convention, Protocol 4 of the Geneva Convention. So this is something I'm surprised you didn't actually mention to the ambassador.
But I did mention it.
You didn't say it's a war crime.
Well, I think it's an arguable point whether it's a war crime.
Okay, let me ask you now then.
They are saying Israel, at the moment, Israel is adamant they are not breaching war crimes, right? It will be determined.
But if we could,
well, it will be determined whether that's the case.
No, sorry. That's incorrect.
Mohammed, let me just make a point to you back on that. I think surely we can agree that what happened on October the 7th was a war crime. I mean, when people are taking grandmothers and executing them, kidnapping young children, when they're killing babies in their cribs, we can agree that's war crime, right?
Okay, babies.
Can we?
Surely, of course, 100%.
Right.
But babies in the crib. Sorry, what was the evidence for that?
You don't believe that happened?
Sorry, CNN, the White House, Sky News, which you work for, all say.
I don't work for Sky News.
Well, your thing.
I did work at CNN. I saw one reporter who retracted it because she wasn't sure about the source.
It's unconfirmed by the White House.
But then the Daily Telegraph and the Jerusalem Post and other sources then did publish pictures,
CNN,
which indisputably showed babies have been killed.
No, it showed one baby who's been charred, and that picture has been put up on Twitter and has been refuted by many people saying that it's actually AI.
No, that's completely untrue.
That is true. What's your source? What's your source?
There's been a thorough investigation into the claim that was put up there by some rogue person on Twitter that it was AI. It has been completely disproven.
Okay, let me ask you a question.
That picture, which was published on the Telegraph, is a genuine, legitimate picture.
What is your source?
Are you seriously arguing that babies weren't killed?
No, I didn't say that.
Well, what are you saying?
I'm saying, give me a source.
Yeah.
You know full well you've been fired from the Daily Mirror for fake images. So you know full well about the
I didn't accept they were faked.
Exactly. The UK government did.
Yeah, they did.
So
Because the UK government, just to be clear, had waged, in my view, an illegal war in Iraq.
So you're allowed to go against the government, and I'm not allowed to go against the Israeli government?
Of course you're allowed to.
So tell me now, what's the source?
You seem to be making a lot of presumptions about me, Muhammad.
Yes, I had softball questions
I was
for
the
your
editor.
ambassador of
No, they weren't. I put all the questions to the ambassador. I was editor of the Daily Mirror when we opposed the Iraq war on the grounds that I believed it was an illegal war. I still believe that to this day. I think it stained this country.
Fantastic.
I don't think you even knew that.
I did know that.
Right.
But that's not the point I was making. I was making the point that if you're allowed to go against the government in their classification of an image, then if you have pro-Palestinian activists who are saying, actually, we need to see a source, shouldn't they be entitled to that?
The Daily Telegraph published on page 3.
Should they be entitled to that, yes or no?
The picture you're talking about, the Daily Telegraph said they had independently verified the picture, Mohammed.
No, excuse me.
If you're saying that their verification is wrong...
No, excuse me. Primary source in academia... I know you've done a journalism degree, which is, frankly, it's not relevant to what we're talking about here anyway.
Probably is to journalism, yeah.
No, it's not to this conflict. But we academics require primary source evidence in order to make it.
The Daily Telegraph said they verified the picture.
That's a secondary source.
Fine. You may say
that's secondary source.
You may say
that's a secondary source.
Well, you may say you don't think it's genuine. I don't agree with you. But the wider point.
That was my point. I said I want a source. I just want to see the evidence.
What we're arguing about here. You're not contesting that babies were killed.
No, I'm saying I want to see the evidence.
So why are you picking on the semantics of the veracity of one picture, which has been verified by British journalists? Why are you picking on that?
British journalists are not an
example
authority.
that somehow this wasn't as bad as it seems.
British journalists are not an academic authority. You know that full well. You've been fired from Daily Mirror for that very purpose. What I'm saying to you is this: putting this issue to the side, I think you're trying to use it as a red herring to move away from the bigger issues.
What red herring?
This is a red herring because already 1,023 children have been killed in Gaza. That's why. And you didn't ask the ambassador that question.
I literally asked the ambassador.
No,
I said 3,000 people have already been killed in a week in Gaza.
Well, you didn't ask her whether she
even listen to my interview with the ambassador?
I did listen, but excuse me.
Well, don't put words in my mouth or say I didn't ask a question.
Let me ask you a question. Do you condemn the killing of those children by the IDF?
I'll tell you what I condemn.
Yes or no?
I'm going to answer your question honestly and truthfully.
Sure.
I am astonished by Mr. Morgan's audacity in defending the collateral damage to Gaza and its inhabited by Israeli forces, despite the fact that international organizations and bodies, the United Nations, have labeled such actions as war crimes. How can a civilized person view as normal the destabilization of an entire population in the name of fighting an adversary? I'm equally surprised that Morgan propagated some very questionable propaganda that's been debunked by multiple sources, particularly in viral claims about Israeli babies in Hamas. Morgan seemed ready to present all these talking points to justify the Israelis' occupation of Gaza and the subjugation of its people. It's clear that he has failed miserably because the atrocities committed in Gaza by the IDF are indefensible no matter how one looks at it.
The Israeli forces...
I've got the stats for that.
Israeli forces do not go...
Cast-led,
wait a minute,
protective
Mohammed.
edge. Go and check it out.
Mohammed, Israeli forces...
Cast-led, protective edge.
Israeli forces don't go into Gaza on one day and grab grandmothers and kill babies in their beds.
Okay.
And
hold on.
Rape and abuse women.
So, rape, is there any evidence for that?
It's been multiple reports in multiple mainstream media publications. Well, you're going to sit here and deny everything,
No,
right?
no, I'm not denying anything.
You are?
No, I accept that some civilians have been killed. I do accept this. And I already said...
You don't believe any of the reports that women were raped?
No, I didn't say that. I said that it's still to be
do you think they were raped?
No, I don't know. It's like the Russell Brand thing. You said we don't know. We need to see the evidence. So why do you apply two different standards?
Okay, so it's been reported.
When it's Israel, we know they're raped. When it's Russell Brand, you don't know because it's your friend.
No, it's been reported by legitimate news sources.
When it's Israel, you know they're raped. But when it's Russell Brand, you don't know. When it's Russell Brand, you don't know if
There's
it's
no
rape.
comparison between Russell Brand and what's happened
It's the
here.
same thing. It's a rape allegation. Why are you stuttering?
I'm not stuttering.
You are stuttering. You don't have anything
You're
to say.
contesting every single thing that I'm saying.
Yeah, that's
and
the
I'm
point
saying
of
to
an
you,
argument.
at the end, 1,300 people were brutally
2,000
murdered,
people have been killed on the other side.
abused.
2,000 people have been killed on the
I
other
said
side.
that to the ambassador.
Okay, but do you condemn that, yes or no?
I don't think
So you refuse to condemn?
No.
You do refuse to
Why
condemn?
are you putting words in my mouth?
Because you're not condemning it, are you?
What do you want me to condemn?
Okay,
right.
excellent. What do I want you to condemn?
Yes.
I want you to condemn the fact that the IDF, knowing that it's more probable than not, pressing buttons from the sky, killing innocent civilians, 1,000 of them children, that is a war crime and that is not acceptable morally. Just like you condemn the other one. Is it condemnable or not?
I believe.
This is where the issue becomes perplexing. How does an occupying force justify itself when facing attacks? Why is it so challenging for people to grasp that Israel was in fact the aggressor, arriving uninvited and transforming people's homes into settlements, resettlement enclaves? How can Israel possess one of the world's most powerful militaries and seizing people's lands, portray itself as a victim against a group of people without an army or access to state-level security guarantees which Israel enjoys today? How does one reconcile such distorted view of reality? It's truly disheartening, my friend. Morgan appears to be at a loss when it comes to understanding how the Israeli army would deal with Hamas without harming civilians. He is really at loss in that regard.
Excellent.
Then the question becomes, Mohammed, it's an interesting debate.
Sure.
If, as it seems to me, you believe too,
Go on.
Hamas are not a force for good, do you believe that?
Well, I think that anybody who kills children and those elements of Hamas who are killing children...
Right, so we can agree. So we agree. So my point is, if Israel's purpose is to rid the world of Hamas after the atrocity of October the 7th, how do they do that, given that Hamas embeds itself in civilian areas in the way that it does? Everyone knows that in Gaza.
Okay.
How do they do that in the surgically clean way that you seem to think they should be doing?
Okay, can I say...
How do you not kill civilians?
Beautiful.
I don't like any civilian death.
Do you mind if I answer the question?
I don't endorse any civilian death.
Well, no. You don't condemn it, though.
Hang on.
Yeah.
No, and here's why. Because I support Israel's right to defend itself.
Beautiful.
Now,
can I say something?
No, one more point. So then you can reply.
Sure.
But the question then becomes, what is proportionate?
Okay.
What is a proportionate response?
Okay.
I don't have the answer.
Excellent.
Because I don't know what a proportionate response to 1,300 murders is. When 260 young people at a music festival, most of them peace-loving people enjoying themselves at a festival, when they get slaughtered by people paragliding in with machine guns, I don't know what the proportionate response is.
Piers, let me respond to you.
So can you tell me?
You've spoken for about 2 minutes. You didn't do that with the ambassador. By the way, I'm just showing you're saying fair. But you're not being fair.
I've said
okay,
what I want to say.
So let me paint a picture.
I will be fair.
Sure.
I'm genuinely interested in what you have to say.
Right, excellent. You're from Irish descent. You know that there was an IRA in Belfast and so on. Okay, so let me ask you a question now. If there was IRA in Belfast and they were occupying council properties and so on, and then we have a plane of RAF going to destroy that council property, destroy all of Belfast, flatten it, as one representative said, got-live. The IDF said that. One of the IDF members said that we will flatten it completely. That's what we want to do. We don't care about accuracy, he said. We care about damage. That's what he said. You didn't question her about that. But anyway, if the RAF were to then go into Belfast and flatten, as the IDF and these guys want to do, if they want to flatten Belfast with all the white people, I'm going to use the term white, all the white people, council estates living in there, with the excuse that we're doing it because it's proportionate defense to the terrorists. What would you say about that?
Here's what I would say to you.
Is that acceptable or unacceptable?
Here's what I would say to you.
Yeah.
The IRA committed a series of atrocities over numerous decades. They targeted, in their eyes, military and political targets. They usually gave some form of warning, not always.
Okay.
They
were terrorists?
No, they were terrorists.
Sure.
They never, ever went out one day and committed the barbaric slaughter of 1,300...
Irrelevant.
No.
If they did.
I'm sorry. It's not irrelevant.
If they did.
No, Mohammed.
If they did.
Here's why it's not irrelevant. They never did.
But if they did, would you accept the RAF to flatten Belfast?
There were outrages committed by
the
loyalist parliamentarians too.
My question is,
here's my point.
If they did, would you think it's acceptable?
They never came close to committing an outrage on that scale.
If they did, is it acceptable
to
flatten
Belfast? They never went
in
and kidnapped grandmothers or killed babies in cribs.
Is it acceptable or not?
They believe they were fighting for better or worse, and I believe for worse,
Sure,
and that's why I'm glad peace was found.
But I'm
They
asking
believe
if
they were
you're not answering my
fighting
question.
political and military targets.
I'm trying to bring it closer to home to
You're
you.
trying to compare apples and oranges.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
It's you that's doing that.
The only comparison that I would say that we saw from October the 7th and what Hamas did is with ISIS.
Excuse me.
It's the only comparison
Do you mind if I...
that
Let
bears
me ask you a
witness.
question. Let me ask you a question. A Palestinian...
And ISIS were taken out, by the way, with
keep interrupting me.
No, here's my...
You didn't do this with the ambassador.
I'm going to finish
You did this
the
with Ben
point.
Shapiro, which you gave the show to him.
No, hang on. I'm giving you plenty of time.
No, you're not.
I'm giving you plenty. You asked about the analogy of a plane flying over and targeting...
But you didn't answer my question.
But that did happen, Muhammad.
Frankly, I anticipated Hijab dismantle the debate and expose Piers Morgan's misguided views and tactics. He extensively did so and really damaged his ego. And that's exactly what we see in this video. Please like and share this video so that others can say this is an amazing, 22 minutes video I've ever watched in my life. It was a very hot exchange, and I really give it up to Muhammed Hijab for really dealing with this guy that's filled with pride. See you next time, brothers and sisters. Assalamu alaikum.